Here's what dealerships will never tell you when you're shopping for motorcycles. What if I told you that 42% of motorcycle owners face major mechanical problems within their first 4 years of ownership? That's not bad luck. 42% suffer because they bought bikes engineered for showrooms, not long-term reliability. Picture yourself excited about weekend rides only to end up dreading repair bills that exceed your bike's value. In this video, I'm revealing the 13 motorcycles that are secretly money pits, ranked by how fast they'll drain your bank account. And trust me, number 1 will shock you. It's a bike that cost the manufacturer over $100,000 per unit to build, yet they sold it at a massive loss. Stay until the end, because this isn't just entertainment, it's your financial survival guide to avoiding the expensive mistakes that destroy most riders' budgets. Number 13. Older Honda Goldwing models. Starting our countdown at number 13, we have older Honda Goldwing models, proving that even bulletproof reliability can become a financial nightmare when complexity meets age. These touring behemoths are renowned for lasting hundreds of thousands of miles, but older generations transform into money pits through sheer labor intensity. The Goldwing's defining money pit characteristic is the infamous onion effect. The need to peel away layers of bodywork just to reach basic components. A simple air filter replacement becomes a 6-hour ordeal requiring removal of fairings, side panels, and fuel tanks. Even checking valve clearances demands pulling cams, turning routine maintenance into expensive professional services. Shop labor costs skyrocket because of this complexity. A comprehensive service including valve adjustments, spark plugs, air filters, and fluid changes easily hits $800 for 6 hours of work. That's not repair costs. That's just routine maintenance on a bike that's supposedly reliable. Age-related failures compound the problem exponentially. Timing belts on GL 1100 models can break and destroy engines if not replaced correctly. Carburetors clog and require difficult cleaning processes. Water pumps leak from tail holes. Air ride suspension develops leaks causing dangerous wobbles, and electrical connections fail throughout the aging wiring harness. The cumulative parts cost for addressing multiple age-related issues easily reaches $2,000, not including the extensive labor required to install them. While individual components might be reasonably priced, accessing them requires dismantling half the motorcycle, turning minor repairs into major expenses that can exceed the bike's current market value. Number 12. KTM 390 Series Duke RC. Number 12 brings us to the KTM 390 series, including the Duke and RC models, marketed as accessible performance bikes that hide a devastating secret. They carry European premium repair costs despite entry-level pricing. Pre-2018 models are particularly notorious for engine reliability issues that can cost nearly half the bike's value to repair. The engine problems are legendary among owners. These power plants either run perfectly for years or explode within 12 months with no middle ground. Brand new Duke 390 develop intermittent stalling and sputtering at low speeds, particularly when downshifting or pulling the clutch. Head gasket failures occur at low mileage, with one owner's 2018 model requiring a new head gasket at 25,000 kilometers. The repair bill for that head gasket job? Nearly half the bike's purchase price, and the engine still suffered low oil pressure afterward. ECU failures attributed to cheaper parts and poor quality control lead to power cuts requiring complete ECU replacement. Another expensive repair on a supposedly budget-friendly machine. Gearbox issues add another layer of financial pain. Owners describe the transmission as hot garbage, struggling to shift, difficulty finding neutral, and random shifts to neutral while stopped. Some bikes have been declared lemons due to persistent transmission problems that dealers couldn't resolve. The hidden premium becomes obvious when maintenance bills arrive. A 30,000-kilometer major service results in hefty bills, including gaskets, chain kits, and tires. Basic oil and filter changes range from $250 to $350, while comprehensive services can hit $3,000. Specific parts carry European pricing. Brake pads cost $200, batteries $400 every 3 years, and fork tube replacement exceeds $500. Number 11. Can-Am Spyder RT. The Can-Am Spyder RT claims number 11 as the least reliable vehicle in Consumer Report surveys, with a staggering 42% of units requiring repairs within 4 years. This three-wheeled machine has accumulated more safety recalls than most manufacturers issue in a decade, creating a perfect storm of reliability nightmares and safety concerns. Consumer Reports data reveals the brutal reality. Can-Am consistently ranks dead last in reliability, with owners reporting never-ending problems and constant breakdowns. The electrical system appears to be designed by someone who actively hates electricity, with gremlins affecting everything from basic lighting to advanced traction control systems. The recall list reads like a safety manual written in hell. Brake lights that won't turn off, confusing other drivers and increasing crash risk. Faulty brake mechanism supports that brake under pressure, severing connections to the rear braking system. Front sprockets that wear prematurely, causing complete loss of propulsion. Engine output shafts that break without warning, leaving riders stranded. Repair costs escalate quickly between 15 and 25,000 miles, with bills easily exceeding $5,000. A used 2015 Spyder RT costs $15,000 to $20,000, but factoring in potential repairs of $5,000 to $7,000 makes it an expensive gamble that rarely pays off. The paradox deepens when considering that 67% of owners say they'd buy another Can-Am despite the reliability nightmares. This suggests either incredible brand loyalty or a form of financial Stockholm syndrome, where owners normalize constant repairs as part of the ownership experience. Number 10, Harley-Davidson V-Rod. Number 10 is the Harley-Davidson V-Rod, specifically the 2013 model year, notorious for engine failures that begin appearing between 10 and 20,000 miles. Despite featuring a Porsche-designed engine, this cruiser combines persistent overheating with electrical gremlins that create a maintenance nightmare. The primary killer is engine overheating that leads to cascading electrical failures. After spirited rides, cooling fans blow the 15-amp fuse controlling both fans and gauge cluster. When fans fail in traffic, engines overheat and expel cooling fluid, while speedometers, tachometers, and fuel gauges freeze, leaving riders without crucial information. Engine failures represent the most devastating financial blow. Oil pump malfunctions and excessive engine noise indicate serious internal damage that requires complete engine rebuilds. Repair costs easily exceed $6,000, nearly half the bike's used value. Harley-Davidson typically doesn't issue voluntary recalls for engine defects unless they pose direct safety hazards, leaving owners to absorb these massive costs. Transmission problems compound the engine issues. Gear slippage, difficulty shifting, hard neutral, and general shifting struggles plague many examples. Transmission repairs require expensive parts with gear sets costing hundreds to thousands of dollars, plus extensive labor to access internal components. The financial mathematics are brutal. Used 2013 V-Rods cost $10,000 to $14,000, but factoring in potential repair costs of $6,000 to $8,000 makes this model year one of the most financially burdensome options available. The Porsche engine pedigree means nothing when fundamental cooling and electrical systems fail repeatedly. Number 9, Ducati 1098. The Ducati 1098 roars into number 9 as the poster child for prestigious money pits, combining exorbitant mandatory maintenance with systemic design flaws that triggered class action lawsuits. This superbike's beauty hides a financial nightmare that can cost more annually than many people's car payments. The desmodromic valve service represents the primary financial drain, a mandatory procedure required every 7,500 miles or 2 years to prevent catastrophic engine damage. Dealership costs range from $1,300 to $3,400 for this service alone. Miss it, and you're looking at complete engine replacement costing tens of thousands of dollars. The clutch slave cylinder fails so regularly that aftermarket companies developed upgrade kits specifically to address Ducati's poor design. This isn't an occasional problem. It's a predictable failure that every owner will face multiple times. Each failure requires expensive parts and specialized labor from mechanics familiar with Italian engineering quirks. A class action lawsuit targeted fuel tank deformation caused by ethanol-blended fuel incompatibility. Plastic tanks swell and deform, interfering with steering and causing fuel leaks. Although Ducati replaced tanks under warranty, replacements used the same problematic material, ensuring the issue would recur and require additional costly fixes. Real-world ownership costs reach $4,500 to $6,000 annually for riders covering 10,000 miles, approximately 90 cents per mile for less frequent riding. Insurance premiums for Ducatis are stupid high, while parts carry premium pricing due to lower production volumes and import costs from Italy. Before we continue, make sure you're subscribed and hit that notification bell. The financial nightmares ahead will shock even experienced riders. Number 8. BMW F650 Funduro. Number 8 belongs to the BMW F650 Funduro, a collaboration between BMW and Aprilia that demonstrates how multiple design flaws create a perfect storm of continuous repairs. This adventure bike earned its money pit status through a cascade of known weaknesses that guarantee ongoing financial pain. Head bearing failure represents a widespread, predictable problem. BMW used non-heat resistant grease that melts from hot engine oil circulating in the top frame tube, leaving bearings dry and causing notchy steering. This isn't an if, it's a when, and replacement requires specialized tools and expertise. The regulator rectifier placement under the seat without adequate cooling causes overheating and complete electrical system failure. When this component dies, it can damage the battery and leave riders stranded. Relocating it to a better position becomes an additional expense that should have been addressed during original design. Clutch mechanism failures involve the toothed rack and pinion system that disengages clutch plates. Replacement parts are expensive, and repair complexity increases because the water pump shares the same casing, requiring coolant drainage and extensive bodywork removal. The impeller shaft on water pumps also fails due to insufficient hardness. Early models used a tiny circlip to secure the front sprocket, a design so dangerous that BMW switched to nuts and washers in 1996. This circlip failure could lock the rear wheel unexpectedly, potentially causing serious crashes. The cosmetic quality was equally poor, with engine paint that flakes off and steel spoke nipples that rust despite stainless spokes. Number 7. Kawasaki ER-6F. The Kawasaki ER-6F takes number 7, particularly the 2008 model that earned unprecedented hatred for featuring what many called the worst suspension ever fitted to a modern motorcycle. This budget-friendly bike proves that cheap initial prices often hide expensive ongoing problems. The suspension was genuinely dangerous. Front forks bottomed out under moderate braking, while rear shocks were too stiff over small bumps, yet bottomed out over larger ones. This paradoxical behavior created an unpredictable, harsh ride that accelerated component wear and required costly upgrades or frequent repairs. Build quality issues extended throughout the motorcycle. Rusting fasteners, failing electrical connectors, corroded swing arms, and rusty fasteners indicated poor durability that led to continuous minor repairs. The cumulative cost of addressing these issues quickly exceeded any initial purchase savings. Frame cracks around top engine mounting brackets after hard spills represented major structural problems. This isn't cosmetic damage. It's a safety-critical failure that requires expensive welding or frame replacement. Combined with cracked header pipes costing 200 pounds for replacement, seizing brake calipers required rebuilding at approximately 150 pounds for both units. The two-piston floating calipers seized on their sliders, if not meticulously maintained, turning routine brake service into expensive overhauls that budget-conscious buyers couldn't afford. The irritating fairing vibrations that produced annoying buzzing sounds forced owners to add foam dampening, highlighting the poor attention to detail that characterized this model year. When basic functions like smooth operation require owner modifications, the manufacturing quality obviously fell short of acceptable standards. Number 6. Honda DN01. Number 6 is the Honda DN01, Honda's ambitious attempt to create a two-wheeled car that became an expensive technological dead end. This automatic transmission motorcycle proved that innovation without market understanding creates financial nightmares for early adopters. The human-friendly transmission represented unproven technology that Honda ultimately abandoned for dual-clutch transmission in later models. This abandonment signals a critical long-term financial risk. When the complex HFT system fails, finding replacement parts or qualified technicians becomes extremely difficult and prohibitively expensive. Performance disappointed despite the futuristic appearance. The 680cc V-twin produced only 51 horsepower at the rear wheel due to transmission losses, making acceleration leisurely rather than thrilling. At 595 pounds wet, it felt unwieldy in city traffic and awkward during low-speed maneuvers, where its scooter-like design should have excelled. The $14,000 MSRP placed it in Ducati territory for a machine that delivered underwhelming performance and questionable practicality. The complete lack of storage space was nearly unforgivable for a scooter-inspired vehicle, limiting its utility despite the premium price. The technological dead-end nature creates the most significant financial risk. As Honda no longer produces or develops HFT systems, spare parts will become increasingly scarce and expensive. Mechanics trained on HFT systems will become rarer, leading to higher diagnostic and repair costs, potentially rendering the bike a total loss if major transmission work becomes necessary. Number 5. Kawasaki H2 Mach 4. The Kawasaki H2 Mach 4 claims number 5 as the original Widowmaker, combining terrifying acceleration with shopping cart handling that guaranteed expensive crash repairs. This 748cc three-cylinder two-stroke monster delivered devastating performance that most riders couldn't control safely. The power-to-weight ratio of 1 horsepower per 5.7 pounds made it the fastest accelerating production motorcycle of its era. But this speed came with handling that inspired fear rather than confidence. The tendency to pull wheelies combined with a less-than-solid feel through high-speed corners created a recipe for disaster that lived up to its deadly nickname. Kawasaki acknowledged the handling problems through design changes in later models. The 1974 H2B featured a longer swing arm and repositioned steering damper to address stability issues, proving that earlier models were fundamentally flawed and dangerous to ride. The financial impact came through constant crash-related repairs. The bike's reputation as the Widowmaker strongly suggests a high incidence of accidents, each resulting in significant repair bills for damaged components, bodywork, and potentially structural elements. Insurance companies would have classified it as extremely high risk, leading to exorbitant premiums if coverage was obtainable at all. Beyond crash costs, the aggressive riding style the bike encouraged accelerated wear on tires, brakes, and drivetrain components. Owners likely invested heavily in aftermarket suspension upgrades and frame modifications attempting to improve stability, adding to the overall financial burden of keeping these machines on the road safely. Number 4. Suzuki TM 400 Cyclone. Number 4 brings us to the Suzuki TM 400 Cyclone, nicknamed the Mechanical Bull for its dangerous and unpredictable nature that guaranteed constant crash repairs and potential medical bills. This overpowered, under-chassised nightmare proved that raw power without proper engineering creates financial disasters. The fundamental design flaw combined a 396cc two-stroke engine delivering hard-hitting power with a chassis built from cheap mild steel that flexed under stress. At 247 pounds, it was 30 pounds heavier than competitors while delivering unusable power that even experienced riders couldn't manage safely. Starting the machine was hazardous enough to cause injuries. The light flywheel and high compression created vicious kickbacks that could break bones just during startup attempts. Once running, the violent power delivery and board-stiff suspension with no damping created a bucking, swapping, bouncing ride that proved uncontrollable. The suspension transmitted every track obstacle directly to the rider's hands, while rear shocks bottomed out and hopped uncontrollably. This combination made jumps and whoops treacherous, leading to frequent crashes that required constant repairs to damaged frames, broken components, and engine trauma from impacts. The financial burden extended beyond motorcycle repairs to potential medical expenses. Riding the TM 400 for any extended period almost guaranteed an injury, meaning owners faced not just repair bills, but medical costs, lost wages, and long-term health consequences from the machine's inherently dangerous design. Number 3. Suzuki RE5. The Suzuki RE5 takes number 3 as a technological dead end that consumed money faster than its Wankel engine consumed apex seals. This rotary-powered experiment proved that being ahead of your time often means being behind on your payments when the technology fails commercially. The Wankel engine consumed apex seals at an astonishing rate, requiring frequent and expensive rebuilds that made long-term ownership financially impossible. The excessive heat production necessitated complex cooling systems with double-skinned exhausts and intricate headers that were inherently more prone to failure than simpler designs. Mechanical complexity plagued every system. The carburetor was overly complex, more suited to cars than motorcycles, with a throttle grip controlling 5 cables. 3 separate oil reservoirs, 2 oil pumps, and 2 sets of ignition points created a maintenance nightmare, requiring specialized knowledge that virtually no mechanics possess today. Parts scarcity has reached critical levels. Major RE5 suppliers have ceased operations, and many unique components are now totally unobtainium. Reports suggest Suzuki actively destroyed remaining parts after the bike's commercial failure, making restoration or basic repairs prohibitively expensive or impossible. The technological dead-end nature means ongoing expensive engine work was inevitable. The fundamental problems of excessive heat and rapid apex seal wear were never resolved, guaranteeing that owners would face continuous, costly rebuilds that could never be permanently fixed. Number 2, Aprilia Moto 6.5. Number 2 is the Aprilia Moto 6.5, designed by furniture designer Philippe Starck, proving that artistic vision doesn't translate to practical transportation. This commercial failure combines poor reliability with parts scarcity that creates insurmountable financial challenges, especially for U.S. riders. The market reception was brutal. Motorcycle buyers in the 1990s weren't ready for radical design departures, rejecting the Moto 6.5 as too slow for sport bike riders, too weird for cruiser enthusiasts, and too stylish for purists. Poor quality and reliability compounded the commercial failure. The 650cc Rotax single produced only 42 horsepower, sufficient for commuting but uninspiring for motorcycle enthusiasts. Combined with reliability issues and negative press, some publications called it a crime against motorcycling. Sales remained dismal throughout its production run. For U.S. audiences, the financial nightmare intensifies because the Moto 6.5 was never officially sold in America. This means any parts must be imported from Europe, incurring high shipping costs, customs duties, and prolonged wait times. U.S. mechanics have virtually no experience with this model, leading to extensive diagnostic time and potential misdiagnoses. With only 6,200 units produced globally and no established U.S. dealer network, finding components becomes nearly impossible. Even basic maintenance requires importing parts and expertise, while resale value approaches zero due to the bike's niche appeal and known reliability issues. Number 1. Honda Valkyrie Rune. Taking the number 1 spot is the Honda Valkyrie Rune, the ultimate money pit disguised as artistic expression. Honda reportedly invested over $100,000 per unit while selling them for $27,000, absorbing a $75,000 loss per bike that signals the expensive components and bespoke engineering that makes ownership financially devastating. The Rune's status as a calculated artistic statement rather than a commercial product positioned it as the ultimate financial risk. The massive investment per unit involved highly specialized, expensive components that aren't shared with any other Honda models, creating a parts availability nightmare as production ended. Limited production numbers mean a smaller pool of spare parts was ever manufactured. Over time, this scarcity dramatically inflates repair costs and makes finding specific components exceptionally challenging. Common consumables might be available, but unique Rune-specific parts have become unobtainium as Honda discontinued their production. The exclusivity that made the Rune special becomes its greatest liability. Fewer mechanics are familiar with its intricate systems, leading to higher diagnostic and labor rates. The artistic vision that justified the massive per-unit investment translates directly into premium pricing for every repair and replacement part. The financial mathematics are inescapable. When a manufacturer loses $75,000 per unit, treating it as artistic expression rather than profitable transportation, the resulting motorcycle contains components and engineering solutions that are inherently expensive to maintain and impossible to replace economically. Now that you've seen which popular motorcycles will secretly drain your bank account, you need to discover the bikes that'll leave you completely broke with repairs. Check out my video on 17 motorcycles that'll leave you broke with repairs, where catastrophic failures and astronomical maintenance costs destroy riders' finances.